let's move forward to topic number 3. So we're at the mid-show here, number 3, and we have the Leia Mary Poppins scene floating through space.
Gosh.
So, as far as this one goes,
screens are going empty now. Everyone's just closing down as soon as you brought that topic.
Let's go. Diamond Figs, you look ready for this. Will, let's hear what you have.
Down there. He's at a loss for words.
It makes me so mad that there are 2 instances where Leia shows that she was at some point training to be a Jedi, correct?
Correct.
Yep.
One is when the training scene and with Luke, and that's cool. I would like a whole movie just about that, or or animated or whatever, just about that. And the other is her floating in space, freezing. So, okay, if we're going to talk about the physics of this,
she didn't turn into a human ice pop.
The bridge gets shot, correct?
Yep.
Creating a vacuum because of the nothingness of space, and everything gets pulled out. The fire immediately goes out. There's fire in space in Star Wars. That's fine. I'm not going to get into too much of like.
I was going to say George already threw physics out the window,
but that's fine. She didn't explode in space. She froze, which is fine. Yondu froze in the MCU. Whatever. He was just very cold. That's fine. She woke up, and the only other time we see her use the Force, she is doing the worst Christopher Reeves impression, flying at the bridge, and when she gets there, she immediately passes out. So, I don't know, you've got the book there, Will. I don't know if there's an explanation for this. So did she revive herself and then fly into the bridge? Also, number 2, you don't see a second bridge door close when she comes in. So when Cohen opened that door and she falls, why doesn't everybody else just get sucked out like they did when the original explosion happened?
I noticed that too.
So as a staunch defender of The Last Jedi, I will say
I know it is your favorite movie.
I will say that the physics aspect, I have an easier time letting go of that just because Star Wars has kind of thrown physics out the window to be entertaining. So that, like you said,
absolutely correct.
It's easy to pass on that one. I look at this scene more in, and you did touch on this too, where she has to show that she has some type of Force training, what have you. So I look at it as, oh man, Leia is so strong she can float through space after getting blown up out of a ship. So if you look at it in a very pared down view, you know, put the blinders on and just look at it straight ahead, it shows that she is pretty strong in the Force. Now, are there better ways to go about showing that?
Lord, yes.
Probably thousands. But at the same time, it is one way to display how strong she is. So, Patrick, what do you think?
Garbage. That scene was actually garbage. And I'm so happy that everybody else calls it the Mary Poppins, because I turned around to my... I'll get a little personal. I actually had a friend that my wife at the restaurant worked at. He was... dying, and this is one of the last Star Wars movies I got to take him to. So for me to take him to see that and see his see Luke, what happened to Luke, right?
Oh, what a
this
way
is
to
the
go.
last Star Wars he ever saw, and they did all that to him. It broke my heart because I'm sitting there next to him, and he's like, he turned to me and goes, "What is this?" I said, I don't know. He goes, "Where's the umbrella?" And I started laughing in the theater during the film, because he was making jokes about it. Nick was like, "That's Mary Poppins." And he said it. And I said, 100%. I agreed. And then it was funny because we thought we were thinking that, but you guys think that everybody in the community called it the Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
And it was even the way she flew, it was like kind of like, oh, we got to do this way because we got to give a little hint, wink, wink. Disney owns this. And that's that was the wrong place for that kind of, hidden Mickey, if you want to call it that. That was awful.
Right.
And I could care less about the semantics of the, getting with into the hatch. I'll just throw that out there. I don't care about that. But the floating through space thing and the music they did, like, it was so cheesy. It was just plain cheesy. Whoever, like, I don't know if whoever was writing this, did they check to say like, is this really going to pull on heartstrings, or do you think people going to think this is crap? Like, it's kind of lame. Like, I don't know who sold that, because I think of so many other ideas, and I see them scrutinized over how they build their sets, how they do their models, how they do their weathering. You give all this attention to all these finer details that make this world expansive and loving and awesome, but yet you, on the storyline, the most important part, you're going to throw Mary Poppins floating through space. Like, come on. Like, this movie, and there's some parts of it I like, but I feel like you could have sliced pieces like this up and saved it for Disney Plus to tell like as precursors to the sequel trilogy, and it would have worked better, because we might have gotten explanations to why Snoke was, who and how Snoke rose. You would have had a little bit more understanding, maybe Leia training with Luke. You might have even gotten more story about Luke and where he was and what he was doing from when we last saw him to here, maybe perfecting being a Jedi, maybe even kind of having hints alluding to him getting bitter. But going from the Luke we saw in Return of the Jedi to, okay, knowing the last 5 minutes we finally see him in the first of the sequel, which was kind of a tease, and then, well, okay, we get him, but he's an old curmudgeon, and as he gets his lightsaber, which, you know, he's got to, I don't know, if I lost my hand holding that thing, I would have more questions about it than just throwing it over my shoulder. So for me, it just tears my heart apart to see all that. So
yeah, that's fair. Garbage. And Noah felt that when you said garbage. So you're not alone there. Lex, what do you think?
So overall, I think the acknowledgement that Leia is a Force user, that she, you know, the Jedi scene, absolutely loved. It's one of my favorite Funko Pops, to be honest. But then you go and do something like that, and it just, like, throws me for a loop. Like, I try to take my blinders off and be very open-minded to it, but it's so hard when you have scenes like that. You know, like, she is a Force user. She's a Skywalker, and you have her floating through space. And yes, the physics aspect of it, just because I am into science and stuff like that, doesn't make any sense. But then again, as you mentioned, Will, or really both Wills, the physics doesn't have to make sense. It really, like, you know, it is Star Wars. They've never really contributed, you know, physics to logic. But I just think that the display of her using the Force in that matter was a waste. And to me, it really kind of took away from her power and, like, just everything about it. I just did not like. Scene. That was it.
So we got a couple more comments here. The Major Jedi, in a way to frame this in a way that makes sense, says they thought of it as her force pulling herself to the ship to attempt to make it make sense, but
I thought the same thing.
Didn't work. And I will say in my head too, a force pull does seem better. I would like for it to be that way, but you know, it is what it is. Noah, agreeing with Patrick, you spoke his mind.
And then awful. I agree, Noah.
Angel here liked Leia in the movie. If you remember at the beginning of the movie, she immediately demotes Poe for not following orders. So I'm glad.
She was awesome there.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up.
Leia moves.
Yeah, so that was good, and that's one of. Also, I had another defense of this written down. I wrote all my defenses down because
yeah, there's not many.
You're gonna need them.
I figured I'd need them in this firing squad here. So, so as Leia demotes Poe, so we get this picture that Poe's going to grow a lot in the movie. So one way is for him to find his way with Leia not there. So you kind of get Leia away and Poe has to find himself. Now I think she immediately comes back and then shoots him with the laser stun gun again, kind of like demoting him a second time almost. But it does give him some room to grow. Could he have done that with Leia present? Of course, it's not the greatest defense of it, but it's one line there. Tony, what do you think?
Dumbest thing in the world. So, literally, I remember being in the theater, and that part made me mad and kind of upset because literally, she just passed away. So this scene happens, and right away, the first thing you think is she's dead. And I'm like, really? That's how they're gonna like take her out of the movie? Because when that scene happens, it cuts away, and then there's another scene then it comes back. So literally, you're there for a couple of minutes thinking, did they just kill Leia that way? And she just passed away in real life? Like, so Ryan Johnson, you made me mad, you jabroni. So that was in bad taste, in my opinion. But like, it just was just dumb, man. Like Mary Poppins, y'all. Like only Yondu could do it. That's it.
I never put the Yondu connection together until tonight. But it is very, and those came out like around the same time too, didn't they? Like pretty similar time frame.
Yeah,
I'm not as into Marvel as everyone else, but I want to say that lines up about right. JT has an explanation here. Ryder snorts line. I got this crazy idea. How about we have Leia being a Skywalker walk in the sky?
Basically,
that's funny.
So Swiffer Wet Jet is in the house. What's up?
What up, Nick? It's my brother.
Okay. I see him on your streams. Didn't realize that was your brother.
Yeah.
Andrea from the Padawan Chronicles.
Oh,
Leia deserved better.
Yes.
As well as Han and Luke. So,
I'm saving my Han for the Luke part.
Yeah, we will have to... we need to find a way to discuss the original trilogy trio in a separate discussion and how they were used in the sequels. I think that would be a great conversation.
Yeah.
And so my last
Ricky Bobby.
You're y'all go check out Ricky's channel too. So my last defense of the Mary Poppins scene is I had 3 of them. So if you go back before it does provide us a way to see Kylo Ren is slightly, I would say more than slightly, conflicted in the entire situation.
Oh, that part was beautiful. Yeah.
Again, now when he pulls his thumbs off, I thought, oh, she's not going to get shot. And then like 2 seconds later, the stormtroopers do it. And so I thought that was a great scene. I don't mind that. But that predates the floating through space thing. And then I don't know if anyone mentioned it, but the Admiral also dies in that scene. And we just kind of gloss over it. He gets a sentence later on.
Yeah, that was terrible.
But that's a different, I didn't include that in the debate. I do get a little hot on the Admiral Akbar treatment as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure most people probably do, but strictly Mary Poppins, I think we have enough information out there on that one. I doubt we're changing any opinions on that one.
Oh no.
Leia's theme doesn't play for that entire thing too.
For real.
It doesn't play the entire thing. The only time it partially plays is when Kylo Ren senses her in the Force. Which I didn't mind that. I didn't mind that.
Yep.
When Kylo Ren senses her in the Force and he pulls his thumbs off of the blasters.
Oh, yes.
It does. I actually, watching that back, I'm like, okay, I don't mind that he has that connection with Leia. However, that's the only part where Leia's theme plays. So Leia's theme within the Force, she uses the Force probably to the largest extent that she ever has.
Yep.
It doesn't even play. Also, last thing I'm going to say about this, because I know we're about to jump topics, but last thing I'm going to say about this, she's a Force user, right? She comes back in. Now, it's kind of different because we assume that Luke was trained by the other Force ghosts to turn into a Force ghost at the end, right? Leia uses her Force abilities to the extent where she passes out, goes from dying to resuscitate herself to then passing back out. Luke does the exact same thing in the Force projection. He uses the exact extent of his Force abilities and then dies and turns into a Force ghost. That's the last thing I'm going to say.
All very fair. And just running through a few last comments on this one, it appears that most people wanted better for Leia, and that is fair to want for her. So.